नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्म विद्या संप्रदाय कर्तृभ्यो वंश ऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः। शंकरं शंकराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। ओम आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणचक्षुः श्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि। सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत्। अनिराकरणमस्तु मे निराकरणं मे अस्तु। तदात्मनि निरते य उपनिषत्सु धर्मः ते मयि सन्तु। ओम शांति शांति शांति। So we have been seeing the Kenopanishad, where it all started with the very question which a seeker of reality is prompted to ask. केनेशिदं पतति प्रेक्षितं मनः केन प्राणप्रदमप्रैति युक्तः केनेशिदं वाचमिमां वदन्ति चक्षुश्रोत्रं कहु देवो युनक्ति. The question was asked to us, what is that which makes my mind go to the objects? What is that makes the prana or the vital air work incessantly in keeping me alive? And what is that, or what is that entity or the power, or I don't know what to call it. What is the one which gives me the totality of experience, what I see through the eyes and the ears? Chakshushrotram kahudevo yunakti. These questions, when asked, the teacher gave a very indirect answer, because the object or the name with which he was asking Kaha Devo Yunakti is not directly pointed out. This is that. In all our case, we have seen that anything which is thing, either it is in the form of an object or a internal feeling, we can identify it with Lakshana or the identifiers or the adjectives with which we can explain any object or a event or anything in our life. But here a question is asked which is very esoterical, in the sense it is the very essence in which everything is happening. So the teacher is falling short of the words to explain it. Yet he wants to convey that there is some entity. Shrotrasya shrotam manaso manoyat vachoha vacham sahu pranasya pranaha chakshusha chakshur adimuchya dira pretyasana loka tamrta pavanti. So he says that you ask me for the ears and the eyes. I can tell you that it is the eye of the eye, ear of the ear, etc., etc. And one who is getting out of the normal feeling that it is my physical eyes which is the cause for my experiences, pretyasmat lokat lokyate. One who identifies that it is not the physicality of the sense organs or the physicality of the organs of action, but there is a entity which is beyond that, which is making everything work, or which is the prime which is inside, in with which inside or outside we don't know. That type of a thing which is being identified, knowing that from removing one by one, pretyasmat lokat amrita bhavanti, that person moves to a state of immortality, because the one which is there is immortal. Therefore, he reaches the state of immortality, identifying. This is the neti prakriya which is indirectly being integrated here. So we saw that different aspects being explained by the teacher, and when we finished the second chapter, the teacher concluded with the last two verses, mantras. Pratibodha vidyam matam amrutatvam hi vindate. Atmana vindate vidyam vidya vindate amrutam. And he also says that Iha chedavedi asatastyamasti na chetiha vidi mahati vinashti. So what does it mean? He says that it is something pratibodha viditam. Every bodham or every experience with both are known or unknown. It is only amrutatvam. It is showing only that immortality of that in the momentary of changing. All the changing experiences are in that changeless one. That is why you are able to understand even there is a change. So pratibodha viditam, when he said is that it is an experiences in a state of experiencelessness where the experiences can be identified. This is what we call it as, you can see a item only when there is a contrast to it. A white dot in a white paper can never be distinguished, cannot be identified, or cannot be even said to be existing inside a white spot in a white paper. Or in the darkness, any dark object cannot be identified. Same way, when we are able to identify experiences, the experiences can be only identified if there is a contrast of changelessness or objectlessness or experiencelessness in which these things can appear. And standing that only, these things can be optified. Or if you become a part of a movement, like now the earth is rotating at 1847 kilometers per hour in the rotating in its own axis. But each one and every one of us are feeling that we are stationary, and we are comfortable with that feeling of stationary in ourselves, because we are inside the change, so we don't know the change which is happening. Same way, if we have been the part of the experiences which are happening, then we will not know the experience. We are able to know the experience because we are the changeless, which is knowing the changes of experiences. So pratibodha viditam matam amrutatvam hi vindate. So the amrutam, or the immortal, which is observing the experiences and the coming and going of experiences, is the one which is, and that one who knows that that one, atmana vindate vidyam vidya vindate amrutam, one who identifies himself to be that changeless one, which is observing all the changes, or in which all the observed changes are happening, he or that person is becoming the very essence of that changeless immortal one. And if you do not know, if you don't learn this, or if you don't understand it, if you do not change that, if you don't follow that and understand that mahati vinashti, that is the greatest loss of this life. Your very purpose of life is a waste, because you are being chasing the changes, not the changeless one. And if that is the situation, if you do not do that, you cannot be amrita, you cannot become immortal, because you have to do that pratyasmahat lokat amrita bhavanti. So this is some sort of a conclusion of the instruction by the teacher, which has happened in the second chapter ending. For an ideal student whose mind is clear without any disturbances, and he, like a blotting paper, absorbs everything what the teacher says, for him this instruction is enough. He doesn't have to hear anything more than that. For him the matter becomes clear. Karatalama lagavat. Like a gooseberry in your palm, or a marble kept in your palm, inside your palm. It will be as clear as that. But not every one of us are like that. So to make the people who are not able to grasp it from their own mental capability, Shruti and the Guru, they both are not different. Shruti Vakyasya, Guru Vakyasya is how the Acharya has been mentioning about it. Is Parama Karunika, is absolutely benevolent in when it comes to teaching. or giving the instructions or giving the absolute knowledge. For such people to understand, the Upanishads introduced a story form to explain the same thing which we saw in the last class. The Agni representing the knowledge or jnana or sense organs, Vayu representing the breath or life or the Kriya functions or the organs of action. Both of them were used as examples to identify a splendor in the form of an attractive light which appeared, and that both Devas, these Agni and Vayu is depicted as Devas who had just a rejoicing the victory over the negative aspects of Asura Vritti. So they had an ego which was saying that yes, this is something which the Upanishads also want to understand. When we hear about the second chapter ending, Pratibodha Viditam, and we think that we understood what is our reality, Atman, there can be an ego setting us in each one of us, thinking that yes, I know what is the reality. I have become an Atmatjnani or a Brahmatjnani, and I know what is Atman, what is Brahman. So that ego can come into each one of us. And to represent our egoistic tendencies of both knowledge and action, the Upanishad brought in the simile of Agni and Vayu as Devatas with ego. And when they went to that light which is very attractive and splendor but not able to identify what it is, that light keeps a dry grass in front of them and asks them to tell that, okay, you are so much claiming that you know everything, Viditam, Aviditam, both, I know both. That is what Agni was indirectly telling, that I can burn everything. Nothing escapes from me. Means both knowledge, known and unknown, are within my realm. And so I know that everything which is known, and also that I know everything which is unknown, that is also within my own purview. So when the grass is kept, that splendor or the light asks that, okay, if that is the case, what is your valor or what is your strength? Please do that to the grass which I have kept in front of you, and which Agni could not do it. Realizing that he is not all knowledge, he cannot know everything. There is something which is still beyond his knowledge, which may appear to be like a small grass, but the person or the light which has been showing that is even more not comprehensive with his own all knowledge. So taking a defeat, he goes back and tells it, and then the Vayu comes, which is representing the Kriya Shakti or the power of action. He says that I am known as Matarisha. Matarisha means everything that is moving in the space, they move because of my strength. I am the one keeping everything in the mood, the stars, the planets, the birds, the air, the objects. Any movement in which you see that, I am the one which is behind the movement. Here, his ego was so much that the same thing was repeated by that light which was kept a grass in front of him and told that, okay, if you can move, please move this grass. He could also not move it. That is the time he understood that yet, in spite of my all power and everything, I am still short of that power with which I am being challenged now. He goes back and tells the Devas that I am also failed. I do not know what is that light which I am seeing, and it also kept me the same grass which he gave to Agni Deva also. So the king of the Devas, Indra, with all he is the one who has been always inquisitive, and even in other Upanishads, there is a story of Indra and Virochana going to Brahma for knowing what is the Atma. E Atma Apahata Patma. So there he gives same instruction both to Indra and Virochana. And Virochana in the first answer itself mistakes what is being told as the physical body, and he returns and tells his disciples or his followers that this body itself is the Atma. Let us live happily with this body, enjoy it, keeping it good and good looking. So Indra there was represented by the inquisitive spiritual seeker who could not accept that if this physical body is the one which is being told as the Atma, but I know that physical body is having all the sick modifications of Vriddhi, Kshaya, the aging, decay, disease, etc. But it cannot be that. Then he goes back. So he does almost 108 years of upavasa or brahmacharya for knowing the truth. Each time he is being given a different answers by Brahma until he became matured by his austerities when he realizes his own. But the instruction from the teacher was the same. Ye Atma Apaghatapatma. This Atma is the one which is taintless. That was the answer given by Brahma in that Upanishad. Here the same Indra, because of his humility, even though he is part of Deda, he also was momentarily taken over by the victory which he had won over the Asuras. But when this light came with the thing, he understood his mistake, and with humility he goes toward the light and the light vanishes. And when the light vanishes, he sits there in meditation, praying to the light to show itself. As he was doing the tapas, instead of the light, sa tasminneva akashe striyam ajagama bahushobhamanam umam haivavatim tam hovacha kimera dakshamiti. That is the mantra with which the third chapter ends. Tasmin akashe. In that very spot where the light and the splendor was seen, striyam ajagama, a form of a lady appeared. Bahushobhamanam, with all the same splendor of the same light which was there, but this time it was not a formless light, but it was a form of a lady which appeared. Haimavatim, with all the ornaments shining all, and Uma is the name of the lady, to whom Indra asked, Kime edat yakshamiti, which was that yaksha which was there in your place here, is the question with which we stopped in the last session. Now we will start this session, fourth chapter. Sa tasminneva akashe striyam ajagama bahushobhamanam umam haibatim sa hovacha kim edat yakshamiti. For that, Uma gives the answer, is the beginning of the fourth chapter. Sa brahmeti ha uvacha brahmano va edad vijaye mahiyadvamiti tato haiva vidanchakara brahmeti. That means Sa uvacha ha brahmeti brahmana va etad vijaye mahiyadvam iti tataha ha eva vidanchakara brahmeti. What does it say? It is well known that Brahma alone has won the war, but you people are thinking that the victory is of yours. Mahiyadvam sa uvacha. Uma says that all of you are thinking that victory is yours, but that victory is of Brahman. Ta ha eva. From that only Indra comes to know that Vidanchakara, that splendor or that entity which was there before, which vanished on his approach, Brahma iti. It is Brahman itself gave him a glimpse of its own presence, but without description with which it can be found out. So we have got now two pictures. One is Uma, the Devi, which is Shiva Shakti or the Ishvara and Shakti, one cannot be described the splendor as Brahman, but it appeared. So that is why it has got a light or splendor, but still not describable. And when Devi says that too was Brahman, it is still incomprehensible for Indra. She said it is the Brahman, and he is the one who won the war for you. It is because of him you all got the victory over the Asuras. But you people are thinking that it is your victory. Tasma, next mantra is that Tasmad va ye de deva atitarami va anyan devan yat agnir vayu indra hi enan idishtam pasfrushu te hi enat pratama vidanchakara brahmeti. Now what does it say? Because of these victory of Brahman and misunderstanding by the Agni, Vayu, Indra, etc., they thought that their victory was the one. But when Uma Bhagavati, the Devi, says that it is Brahman, here the prominence is being given to the Agni, Vayu and Indra because they came in direct vision with Brahman because of they are the supremost of the Devas. That is what the Upanishad says. What does it indicate? It is the organs of, it is the knowledge and the action combined with the ruler Indra of both the sense organs and of knowledge and action, which will be helpful for us to know what is the Brahman or the Atman within us. Therefore, the physical body, the physical instruments of eye, ears, etc. are not important as long as it do not help you to do the understanding of the reality from the world of objects. Here again we should think about that sloka from the Kenopanishad says that Paranchikani, all these things, both the organs of senses and the actions are capable only with the world engaging outward. But the input from them, it is the Indriya or the Mana, which is represented by the Jivatma, the Indra, who can convert the experiences of Pratibodha Viditam into knowledge or understanding. Therefore, even though they are definitely important, but the importance should lie with the Indra, who is finally able to know from Devi that it is the Brahman which was seen here as in the form which cannot be understood. So the third mantra says, Tasmad va Indraha atitaram iva anyan devan sahai enat nedishtam pasparsha saha hi enat pratama vidanchakara brahma iti. Now here it is a repetition also. No, tasya, next one is that mantra, fourth mantra is that tasyaisha adeshe yet etad vidyuta iti naimishad a iti adidaivatam. This is what the actual instruction from the Devi. First, she told that light which you saw is Brahman only, and Agni, Vayu, Indra, since you got an opportunity to see it yourself or come in close quarters of that, you are all definitely blessed and great. But you have not been able to understand what it is. So here she starts her instruction. Tasya esha adeshaha. What does it mean? Tasya, of that Brahman, esha adeshaha. It is the way to teach by giving these teachings. Vidyut, though through the flashing of a lightning, which he appeared as before he kept the glass of the grass there, that Naimishat iti adidaivatam is the divine way of showing the reality by Brahman. Now there are two examples are being used by the mantra or the instruction from the Devi. Vidyut and Naimishad. Vidyut means lightning. The splendor of lightning, even though it is a fraction of a second, it enlightens anything and everything within the ambit of that. The whole world becomes brightened up by that lightning, even though it is for a fraction of a second. What is that example being used by that Brahman in that example? That for him, the world of creation is as simple as that Yugapat Srishti. With the lightning, he creates the entire world. And he takes it back also. Because that darkness follows it. So if you look at from our experience point of view, momentarily the entire world came in lightning. And the world also vanished with the lightning closed. Now, if you look at from the cosmic point of view, which says that Yugavat Srishti means instantly the entire world comes into existence, and into which the world goes back is the same source from where that. Now, when we are looking from a human concept, the Big Bang, the 13 or 14 billion light years of life, the space expanding, you will look like a spark of a lightning from the point of view of Brahman. Because that is how he creates it, or that entity's creation is like that. And in the point of light, that 18 million or 14 billion light years, from that point of view, what is the 100 years of human life or 8 years of human life? It is not even lightning of that lightning type of a lightning. So from that point of view, all these things are example is that the creation is a momentary experience. When we wake up from our sleep, the entire world is in front of us as if lit by a lightning. The experiences, the world of experiences comes in. But we do not have this momentary control to control the, when it goes back into non-existence, when we go into deep sleep. For that, the second example of Naimishat is the use. Naimishat means it is when you close your eyelid. What happens? The reverse happens for us. When lightning comes, momentarily everything is lit. When we are closing our eyelids, the entire vision or the entire world in front of us is vanishing even for a second, but we are not aware of it. So you can imagine we both are at the extreme end of the same spectrum. The Brahman, who can create the entire world in the entire world in a fraction of a second, and we are on the other end of the spectrum, where when we close our eyes, the world is vanishing, but we are not aware of it. So both these examples is used by the Upanishad that all that what we are experiencing are all momentary in nature. They are not Amritam. For the creation, Yugapat, even when we are closing our eyelid, the world is vanishing even for a second, but the closing of the eyelid is so fast that vision seems to be continuous for us. Even though if you really look into our own personal experience, when we are blinking, and then in our natural way of blinking the eyelid, the vision is vanishing, becoming zero because we are closing our eyes, but we do not have that experience of closing. So both these examples are used by the Upanishad to say that the entire experiences are all momentary in nature. They are all not Amrita. Same example is used in the Brihadaranya Upanishad also when Neti is being explained. I'll just read that mantra. It's a long mantra, but I'll not explain it in fully, but you will understand that Tasyaha etasya purushasya rupam. This is indeed that Purusha, that splendor, Rupam. Yada Maharajanam Vaso Yada Pandavikam Yada Indragopa Yada Agnirchi Yada Pundarikam Yada Sakrit Vidyutam Evaha Va Asya Sri Bhavati Ya Devam Veda Ata Adesha Neti Nahi Etat Asmat iti na iti anyat paramaha asti ata namadeyam satyasya satyam iti pranahai satyam tesham mesha satyam. Now here he has given many examples. I am taking only this example, vidyutam, sakrit vidyutam. The repeated lightening of, which is creating the world. When we are doing this, when we are having these experiences also, Adeshaha is the instruction is that neti. The experiences which are momentary in nature are not what we are. We are the one who is seeing. Satyasya satyamiti. We are the satyam or the existence or the truth in that experience which observes all that. So saying neti by for all experiences, that what is being experienced, Tesham Mesha Satyam, that is what is the truth, is what the Brihadaranya Upanishad talks about. Incidentally, because both these Upanishads uses the same Vidyut, Sakrit Vidyutam. So what does it mean is that experiences are momentary in nature, which is also told in the previous mantra, Pratibodha Viditam. Sakrit Vidyuti, when the case of lightening also it is momentary. When you are closing eyes, the opposite of the feeling is there. When it's momentary also, losing the world, we are not aware. So the total experiences are all momentary in nature. So when this is the state, then that Devi continues to tell that Ata Adhyatmam Yat Etad Gacchati Ivacha Manaha Anena Cha Etad Upasmarati Abhikshnam Sankalpaha. Now, what does it say? That the Upanishad now gives the analogy level of the self from the point of view of the individual. The seeker should pursue through his mind attaining that these experiences which we explained in both the Vidyut example and the eyelid closing example. Using that, Manasa, in the Manaha, Anena cha etas upasmarati apiksham sankalpa. One should meditate upon, in the sense here, Sravana, Manana and Nidhidhyasana. Having heard from all the instruction from the first and second chapter, and the example given for the Deva in the Agni, Vayu and Indra, one should do the Sankalpa. In that Sankalpa Manas, when the mind becomes purer with that, understanding become the momentary experiences and Amritattvam. Te pretyasma lokat amrita bhavanti. When you are removing all the experiences and you become immortality, that is the time when the splendor or the yaksha which appeared will appear itself. I am just reminding you about this mantra which we studied in the previous Upanishad. Nayamatma pravacharena labhyo namedaya na bahuna shrutena. Ime vaisha vrunute tena labhyastatyeva atma vivrunute tam swanum swam. At Upanishad. Not by intellect, namedaya, na bahuna shrutena. Even if you hear it 100 times the Upanishad, it will not, you will not know as what it is told by the Upanishad. Only when you have purified your intellect, understanding that it is not an object, it is not an experience, it is the substratum for everything, in which even experiences appear. So we should not be even with a expectation that there will be an Brahmakara vritti or a knowledge about Brahman or that cosmic experience or the spiritual experience. Even that expectation is in the mind as a vritti or a thought. But in that experience it cannot come. Only when that also goes, Atma Vivrunute, that the light of Atma can be seen. This is where between the bodham it is appearing, pratibodha viditam. But because we are so much engrossed between the one experience to another experience, the gap between one experience to the other experience is never acknowledged or never even taken into account. Just as when we are closing our eyelid, the world is vanishing from our vision, is never acknowledged and never taken as a serious thing to investigate into it. Same is the case with the lightning. When the lightning is coming, we see the entire world is created. When I'm waking up also, the entire world is coming up instantly for me for the world of experience. It is not that one tree comes, one animal comes, one bird comes, the sky comes, the water comes. No, everything is available simultaneously, as if brought by a lightning, the entire experience of the world. It is coming. So all these examples are used for relating to our own personal experiences. And when we realize that none of these are the reality, they are all the world of Aniratam, or which are the world where it is changing. The changeless one is I am the one, the changeless, which is observing all the changes or which is all experiencing all these things. For him, Atma Vivranute, for him that Atma will, he will become that. It is not that it is shining on him. Swayam Vivrunade, Atma Vivrunade means Swayam Vivrunade. You will know who you are at that time. You don't have to know. There is no who you and you are knowing as separate. You become what you want to know. Then is the next mantra. Tadva tadvanam nama tadvanam namityupasitavyam saya etat eva vedavi ha enam sarvani bhutani samvanchanti. Now, in each Upanishad, they give a peculiar name for Brahman by a different name. For example, in the Chandogya Upanishad, Brahman is explained as Tadjalan. It is a word. Here, the word used is Tadvanam. Now, Tadvanam can be, in Sanskrit, can be treated as, dealt as Tasyavanam. Tasyavanam. Vanam means normally forest. But here, Vanam also has got a different name. Is splendor, because it appeared as a splendor or light, beyond the words which can be announced. It is of the splendor of that, there to indicate that the Tadvanam word is used. It is from which that experiences come, Tadvanam. And Upasitavyam, it has to be meditated upon that. It is that which appeared as the light. The light is not that which appearing. The one which exhibiting the light or the entity which exhibited itself as light, but which cannot be otherwise seen because of its own, kripa or karuna. It showed its reality. It's one of the forms of splendor to Agni, Vayu, and Indra. So when Devi says that it is that which is Tadvanam, it is that splendor, means it is Brahman's splendor which you saw. Tadvanam, that is the word Tadvanam is to be understood like that. And that upasitavyam, you have to meditate upon that. Sarvani bhutani aviryam samvanjanti. Every object, samvanjanti, that normal meaning is to adore. But there is also a meaning that they revel in that. It is in that Brahman, the whole creation is reveling or revealing itself, themselves. It is in the lightening of that lightening the whole world appears. Same way, in the presence of Brahman, every object in the world appears to be having an existence. Otherwise, it is not there. So, one has to do the upasana or the meditation on this to understand how it is being dealt by the Upanishad. And here in the 7th mantra, Devi vanishes after that upasitavyam instruction to Indra. That story ends there only. The student who has been listening to the story asks the teacher, Upanishadam bo bruhi iti uktva tat Upanishadam brahmim bhava ta Upanishadam bruma iti. Now here the word Upanishadam bruhi can be taken as two separate ways. Please, if you look at the literal meaning, "Oh sir, master, Upanishadam bruhi iti, please tell me the Upanishad." So the master says, Ukta, I told you this is the Brahman only, this is relating to the Brahma, this is the Upanishad. We have already told you. This is the literal meaning of that, the word by word meaning of that Upanishad. But we have to take the intended meaning by the Upanishad. What is that? Here is this experience, upasitavyam, which is being told by the Upanishad for the Devi's instruction to Brahma, Indra, that has to be understood in a different aspect. Now, if you remember, in the Lalita Sahasrama, there is a example of Unmishan Nimishan Shat Panna Vipanna Bhuvanavalihi. That, what does it say? That in that case also Devi is being depicted as the one who comes Unmishan Nimishan, in the closing and eye, opening of the eye, and she is the one who is creating the whole world, is being given in the Lalita Sahasranama. So I forgot to mention this in the previous mantra. That is also one example which is the Upanishad is also wanting us to understand that. So Upanishad, when you are doing the meditation on that, what is to be understood when the student asks, please tell me the Upanishad. So here the Upanishad is telling the Sravana, Manana, Nidhidhyasanam to be done as the three methodologies to understand. Upanishadam. What the detailed explanation of the word Upanishadam is done by Shankara in the another Upanishad preamble. There he says that Upanishadam, the word should be understood as Sravana, Manana, Nidhidhyasana, in the sense that When you are sitting near a teacher, Upa, you are hearing the teaching from that teacher. But hearing will not give you the knowledge. That is only Sravana. And when we are hearing it, that it doesn't become your knowledge. It becomes your knowledge only when you do the Manana. Thinking, Manana means again, thinking about what the teacher has told me till now. And when each time when you are thinking more and more, the dirt of our mind becomes lesser and lesser, because more and more the knowledge comes firm and firm. Now, why it is so is Vastu Tantra. When I told you about this Vastu Tantra, when an object is known, the knowledge doesn't become yours. Now, for example, if I am saying the white powder on the dining table on a thing is salt, you can know that white powder is salt. But the salt becomes a salt of taste only when you consume it. And the more it will become more salty, the less become less salty. But the knowledge that powder can give salt becomes only knowledge only when you taste that salt. But any amount of saying that it is chemical name or the powder name or the visual seeing of the salt doesn't give you the experience of the salt. The visual experience is one, the bodham or the experience of knowing it is different. Same way, in the Shastra, when you are saying, when the Atma is explained or Brahma is being explained by the different mantras of Pratibodha Viditam or whatever may be that, when we hear the Sravana, what happens is that we may create a imaginary picture here, because it is not a physical object like a salt or a sweet or any other object in the world outside. When it is said, it is like a lightning, it is like nimishan, all those things. What happens is that we may create a mental image of what is the experience. And that is to be Pratyatma Vishaya. That is our own knowing of our own nature or being our nature will happen only when that Sravana and Manana removes all the doubt and imagination notions in our mind, and then it becomes a knowing by conviction. You don't need anybody to ask. Anytime when that question is asked what you are, you will know that what is your nature. And that is the time when you know that it is the nature of everything. Sarva Bhuta Hitairaha, that aspect of knowing everything and the hidam of everything or the best of everything will be your attitude. That will happen only when you are doing the Sravana Manana Nidhidhyasana. This is what is required by the word Upanishad in that seventh mantra. Shankaracharya also quotes that from the 5th mantra on the 13th adhyaya of Bhagavad Gita, where it starts, Mahabhudya Mutanyanahankaro Buddhiravyaktam Evacha. Starting from that till the 18th mantra, where Idi Kshetram Tada Jnanam Neyam Choktam Samadada. Madbhakta Edat Vijnaya Madbhavayo Patyade. So here he is also saying what are the type of obstructions which can come. In the Shankara's explanation, he said, Ahanga Amanittam Adambittam Ahimsa Chandirajavan. These are the things which can come as an obstruction to the one who is doing the practice of these teachings as in the form of upasitavyam, which was told in the previous mantra. So that is where one has to concentrate our attention and do that. So the teacher says then the eighth mantra is tasya tasya tapo dhamaha kirtimati pratishtha veda sarvangani satyamayatanam. That ahimsa, shanti, rajyam, etc., which was explained in the Gita, is the one which he is referring here in this mantra. The austerity, restraints, rituals, and other things are all in the told in the Vedas. That upasana, the Vedas, Shadanga Vedas, and the Chaturvedas, they're all giving you instructions on upasana and the methodology of doing the upasana margas. So in that, one should get pradishtita in what? Satyamayatanam, in the abode of truth. It is not that it is going to take you to the heaven or any other experiences of the world. Those things, austerities, should be used for pratishtha, for establishing yourself in the Satyamayatanam, in the truth of abode. Then the Upanishad concludes as the fruit of all those things as Yahava etam evam vedamahatya papmanam anante sorge loke jeye pratishtati. One who has really understood this knowledge in this manner, by doing that upasana and the Sravana, Manana and Nidhidhyasana, he gets rid of his dirt in the mind, papas, or the sins in the mind. And he identifies himself to be the infinite. And pratishtati, he gets established in that. He gets established in that pratyagatma vishaya. One exposes that one which exposed itself to itself in the form of splendor. He gets established in that knowledge that what is that? It is that splendor which is shining in me, because of which the whole experience of knowing and acting and the very feeling of that identity of why I am as an experiencer also is all because of that splendor which was come as in the form of a splendor in front of the Agni and Vayu and Indra. And that is where I am getting established in that. And that is how the Upanishad ends, that one should get established in that understanding what is one's own reality. Om apyayantu mamangani vak pranakshachutsotramato balamindriyani cha sarvani sarvam brahma upanishadam maham brahma nirakuryam ma brahma निराकरणमस्तु मे निराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरते च उपनिषत्सु धर्मस्ते मयि सन्तु ओम शांति 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 हरि ओम तत्सत् ओम पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ओम शांति 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 हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम धन्यवाद नमस्कार एवरीवन थैंक यू